Hi, I'm Stephanie Reid, and welcome to The Minutes. Thanks for listening today. It's great to have you along on The Minutes for the week of September 22nd, 2025. This is a City of Thunder Bay podcast. The Minutes takes a look at what happened at Thunder Bay City Council this past week. You can find The Minutes wherever you get your podcasts, including our YouTube channel and our website, thunderbay.ca/The Minutes. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. This week was the first time we've had stacked standing committee meetings. That means 2 committees back-to-back on the same day. We'll start with the Quality of Life Standing Committee, where councillors dug into issues ranging from road construction to community safety, ice time at our arenas, and the cleanliness of the pedestrian overpass at Marina Park. Then later in the evening, the Growth Standing Committee met to discuss the future of the Science North location at the waterfront, a proposed new energy project, and what's next for the Smart Growth Action Plan. I'll be joined by 2 guests. First, the Manager of Community Safety and Wellbeing will share how they've been engaging residents on the Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan, and then the Senior Adviosr to Growth will share some details about the public engagement plan for the Smart Growth Action Plan. This week, the Quality of Life Standing Committee met for the very first time. Members of the committee include Mayor Boschkoff and Councillors Johnson, Chung, Folds, and Oliver. Councillor Oliver serves as the chair. Deputy City Clerk Walters shared that the city is seeking community members to serve on several boards and committees, including the Thunder Bay Airport Authority Board. Serving on a city committee is a great way to get involved and help shape the future of Thunder Bay. Information about openings and how to apply is available on the city's website. One of the first presentations came from Acting Commissioner of Infrastructure and Operations Miedema, who provided an update on the city's 2025 construction projects. A key highlight was the launch of a new interactive construction map. This online tool allows residents to see road closures, construction projects, and other updates in real time. City staff are able to update the map instantly, which makes it easier to keep the public informed about what's happening on our streets. The map, along with the full list of 2025 construction projects, can be found on the city's website at thunderbay.ca/construction projects. Next, the Manager of Community Safety and Wellbeing gave an update on public engagement for the city's provincially required Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan. Over the past several months, the team has been connecting with residents through an online survey and a series of pop-up events around town. The goal of this plan is to better understand the needs of the community from safety to well-being, and then create strategies that reflect what residents are saying. I'll be speaking with Manager Costanzo later in this episode to dig into the feedback they've heard and what comes next for the plan. After that, councillors reviewed a report from Community Services about weekday ice time at city arenas. The recommendation was to consolidate the ice use by closing Grandview Arena for Monday daytime ice and Nebing Arena for weekday ice bookings. This comes after a 2024 budget decision to right-size weekday offerings. The demand for weekday ice has been relatively low, and by consolidating, the city has been able to save on costs and staffing. The new approach also helps reduce inefficiencies around scheduling and maintenance. While there were some concerns from staff about shift impacts, administration explained that changes had already been made to better balance workloads. The recommendation to close Grandview on Mondays and Nebing on weekdays was endorsed by the committee. The final item on the agenda was a memo about the Marina Park pedestrian overpass, the enclosed walkway that connects the downtown North Core with Prince Arthur's Landing. Despite being rehabilitated in 2021, the structure continues to face challenges with vandalism, litter, and safety concerns. Since the rehab, the city has had to replace 7 panes of glass at about $4,500 each, with another 15 cracked panes still in place. Staff clean and inspect the structure regularly, but problems persist. To reduce issues, administration will now close the overpass at night, from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. Gates and fencing will be installed, with security staff handling locking and unlocking. Exceptions will be made for events downtown or at the marina, when the hours will be adjusted. The Waterfront BIA supports the change, and the move is expected to improve safety and reduce cleanup costs. And that wrapped up the very first meeting of the Quality of Life Standing Committee. Next, I will be joined by the Manager of Community Safety and Wellbeing, Luisa Costanzo, who will give more detail on the Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan and how you can get involved. And that wrapped up the very first meeting of the Quality of Life Standing Committee. Now I am joined by the Manager of Community Safety and Wellbeing, Luisa Costanzo, to give some more detail on the Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan and how you can get involved. Hey Luisa, thanks for joining me in the Minute Studio.
Thanks for having me.
So I guess, can you just start by explaining what a community safety and well-being plan is, and I guess why municipalities like ours have to have one?
For sure. So, I mean, it is complex, but I'll try to sum it up with Cole's notes. So as part of the Community Safety and Policing Act of 2019, Ontario municipalities are legislated to have a community safety well-being plan. That plan is to coordinate social services and to ensure that there's no gaps and to ensure that we're, serving the people in our community the best that we can. So it is legislated. We have to do one. Every 4 years we have to review it and then produce another iteration of the plan depending on the social issues that are.
And so that's obviously what you're working on now. And so it's a community plan. And so obviously community engagement is very important. What role does that engagement play in the development of the plan?
Sure, it's essential. I mean, it is a community plan. We need to understand what our community priorities are, and we need to continue to work with our partners to have proactive solutions on how to do that. To get, we can't solve anything at this point, but just moving things forward so that we can ensure that people in our community have what they need to thrive.
Yeah, and so you're doing this engagement right now. You're out in the community now, right? So you have a survey. There's an open survey, I believe, and you've been doing some pop-up events. What have you been hearing? I know it's probably pretty early, but what have you been hearing from folks?
I mean, I think looking at our existing plan, which has created a really great foundation for us, I think the priorities are probably going to be the same. I mean, things have changed a little bit since the pandemic. Well, lots actually, but so I think, still the priorities are there. Still early days, though. We have a lot of data to collect and a lot of data to analyze and then come back to the community with. So yes, take part in the survey if you can. We really need to get those voices in there.
Is there any, additional efforts, I guess, being made to ensure that voices of traditionally underrepresented folks are being included?
For sure. We've been meeting with folks in the community for the last 10 months, and we'll continue to do that. And we're looking at some facilitated sessions. And then, once we get all the data, we'll have to see where we're at. And if we haven't captured enough, we'll have to go back out to the community again.
And so what kind of certainly this isn't just a city plan. What other kinds of community groups and partnerships do we have in this, I guess?
Yeah, there's so many. So it is actually collaborative. And in our community, honestly, we are really great at doing that. We have multiple tables and, groups like Diversity Thunder Bay help us, Housing and Homeless Coalition. There's just so many. And then within all those groups, there's multiple organizations sitting at those tables as well.
That's fantastic, right? Really trying to capture the whole community. I think we mentioned that the survey is still open. Are there other pop-up or in-person opportunities for people to connect?
Yeah, absolutely. We're still working on planning some of those, but the survey is open until December 15th, and we are planning a Community Safety Wellbeing Forum at the Community Auditorium on November 13th at 6 to 9 p.m. That is a public event open to everyone, and we encourage people to come. We're going to have a discussion and then look at some proactive solutions that we can work together.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And so I guess with the development of the plan then comes implementing the plan, right? So what is the sort of timeline for that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's ongoing. We have to work together. It's hard to put a number on that. I think it's just going to be something that we're going to continue working on. We've got to look at data and then, reassess the data to see if we're making a difference and then reevaluate if we need to change some of the priorities or the way we're, looking at working together. So yeah, it's complex and ongoing, but we definitely need the voices and people to come together to have these conversations with us.
For sure. And so I guess as the work is continuously ongoing, there will be ongoing opportunities for the community to stay engaged.
Yeah, absolutely. We have the survey open, we have the forum, and then will be the report backs to community and the Quality of Life Standing Committee. So yeah, there'll definitely be opportunities to stay connected.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Again, that wrapped up the first Quality of Life Standing Committee meeting. Thanks again to Manager Costanzo for joining me today to give a bit more insight into the Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan. Next, after a short break, we switch to the evening's second meeting, the Growth Standing Committee. Let's head there now. This was the very first meeting for the new Growth Standing Committee, which is chaired by Councillor Gertuga and includes Mayor Boschkoff and Councillors Pasqualino, Etrini, and Agarwal. And the agenda was packed with items that speak directly to the future of Thunder Bay, from the Science North waterfront site to energy generation and, of course, the Smart Growth Action Plan. To give us a deeper look at that plan and the upcoming community engagement, I will be joined in a few moments by Senior Advisor to Growth, Matt Pearson. But first, here's what happened at the meeting. The first item was a report from Realty Services recommending a site for the proposed Science North Thunder Bay waterfront location. After evaluating several options, the recommended site is a 2.68-acre property within the Phase 2 Cultural Campus area immediately south of the new art gallery site. Science North has been working on the project for years, from visitor experience planning to site evaluations, and is supportive of the recommendation. The site lines up with the Phase 2 Waterfront Master Plan, creates a strong cultural hub alongside the art gallery, and leaves Pool 6 available for future opportunities. The committee endorsed the recommendation, meaning administration will now work on business terms and a letter of intent to bring back to council in closed session. Next, the committee heard from Versorium Energy, which is proposing a new Central Avenue generating facility. The project would produce up to 31 megawatts of electricity and supply thermal energy to Canada Malting. The facility would use natural gas engines on privately owned industrial land, and while no Planning Act approvals are needed, Versorium will require a council resolution of support in order to apply to Ontario's Independent Electricity System Operator. The company is preparing to compete in the province's long-term procurement process, which is designed to meet Ontario's growing electricity needs. Versorium will return to the Growth Standing Committee later this fall with the results of public engagement and more detailed information on emissions and planning context before Council decides whether to support the project. Finally, Senior Advisor to Growth Matt Pearson provided an update on the Smart Growth Action Plan. The draft plan will be released in October and will be followed by a round of community engagement to gather feedback before the final plan is presented to Council in December. To talk more about what's coming up, I will be joined in just a moment by Senior Advisor Pearson. The Smart Growth Action Plan is one of the cornerstone pieces of work for the city, and it will shape how Thunder Bay grows in the years ahead, including everything from housing and economic development to quality of life and sustainability. To make sure the plan reflects the voices of residents, businesses, and community partners, engagement is critical. I'm joined in the Minute Studio by Senior Advisor to Growth Matthew Pearson, who will give us some more details on how the plan is developing and how you can get involved in shaping it. Hey Matt, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Steph.
So, for those who might be hearing about this for the first time, what is the Smart Growth Action Plan and why is it so important to what the city's doing right now?
Okay, so great question. The Smart Growth Action Plan is really a response. Not every community would need one or would want to use something like that. But in Thunder Bay, over the last 10 years, we have had a trouble with growth. And what we haven't had a trouble with is rising costs. And so when the two are out of balance, those added costs get passed on to residents, whether it's through user fees or property tax increases. So what the Smart Growth Action Plan aims to do is bring together community leaders and come up with a plan where the city can help really induce, focus growth to keep up with inflation. The reality is it's that separation from city revenue to city expenses, which has highlighted this as a need. And so the Smart Growth Action Plan attempts to say, we've got a bunch of stuff to do. Here are the actions. This is what we expect the outcome to be. We'd like to see some more industrial commercial development. We'd like to see some more jobs created. We'd like to see some more people move to Thunder Bay. We'd like to see some more job opportunities improve in Thunder Bay. And all of those things help build up our property tax base, whether that be new properties, reinvestments or improvements to old properties, expanding businesses, new businesses. And so with that comes new growth revenue for the city, which then can help offset and further invest in growth programs moving forward.
Yeah, that definitely sounds very important. So you mentioned working with community leaders. How are you bringing those community leaders together and how are you working together?
Yeah, so we have assembled what's called Task Force Growth, and it's 25 members strong, of which of course, a significant portion is made up of our local CEOs and presidents. So think major utilities like Synergy North, T-Baytel, educational institutions like Lakehead University and Confederation College, as well as community-based groups and BI. So we have BIAs, we have economic development. Jamie Taylor, the CEO of the CEDC, sits on Task Force Growth. She's actually a co-chair of Task Force Growth. And so we really try to bring in economic development, large employers. They also sit on significant lands. We also have representative from businesses. We have Indigenous representation. We have really what I think is a good cross cut of our community to inform this plan. Now, we know that's not everybody. And so we do engage with focus groups and larger community engagement to make sure that if you have an opinion, if you have something to say about growth in this town, that you've got someone to say it to that is going to listen in a meaningful way.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And so you've got this group of folks together and community leaders together, and you're developing this plan. You mentioned at the meeting that the first draft of the plan will be released in October. What will residents see in that draft?
So residents will see essentially a culmination of our work. We call it an action plan because we want it to be based in action. Is there strategy? Well, of course, but it's not by nature an entirely strategic document. We want people to be able to read this and see this is what the city is doing to help promote growth. And when I say growth, I'm primarily talking about property tax-based growth, population growth, and the growth in employment opportunities. So you want to see actions in this plan that this is what the city, and by all means, the city is a big part of this, but it's not the only part. This is a community-based plan, which is why we have the task force. You want to see actions in there that we all believe are going to induce one of those three to four things. Really, what are our targets? How are we going to achieve these goals? So things like making sure we've got shovel-ready commercial industrial lands. If there's a business looking to expand or a new business looking to come to town, that there's spaces for them to land. Essentially, we have to make sure our educational institutions are aligned with the work that's coming in the north. There's lots of exciting stuff in there, but as a reader, you're going to see what the problem is. You're going to see how we attempt to provide a solution or essentially turn the ship in the right direction. And you're going to see through actions how we're going to do it. Now, these actions, and there's more than 100 of them, are listed in short, medium, and long term. This is a 10-year plan. We don't attempt to achieve the kind of growth we're aiming for overnight. This is a progression. And so you're going to see a list of actions organized into pillar and into themes, and then with a time frame of short, medium, and long. And like I said, those long-term actions aren't even going to start till year 7, 8, 9. And so it really is, it's a monumental amount of work. It is entirely achievable, but it's going to take a lot of collaboration, support, that kind of leaning on each other's expertise and capacity to help advance some of these actions forwards. Because it's not just the municipality; it's really a partnership amongst the whole community.
And so to that, speaking of the whole community, is like once the plan is released and folks have a chance to look at it, how are people able to give feedback on it? And how will that feedback be incorporated?
Yeah, so we're going to go to City Council on October 21st. And on that date, the Smart Growth Action Plan will be released in its form. And we're hoping it is close to what people expect. Now, it would be naive of us to say this is a finished document because we think there's still opportunity to provide feedback. We still, like a muscle, let's rip it up and make it grow back stronger. And so on October 21st, we're going to kick off that re-engagement. So in the initial phases, we reached out to about 15 to 20 focus groups, organizations that were not included in the 25-member task force. There was at some point you have to limit the size of a task force because these meetings with that many participants, as you can imagine, we don't want to get bogged down in being cumbersome. So we do reach out to targeted institutions, community groups, individuals to further this conversation. I think we need to reconnect with them in a meaningful way. They need to know that we've listened to what they've said, and we need to show them how what they have given us is reflected in the plan. So we're pretty excited to show them how we've done that, but then that opens the door for further comment. Have we done this correctly? Did we interpret what they said in the right way? And potentially what new things have come up since we spoke to them last? So that's great. So that's going to start. That all starts mid-October and is going to go till about mid-November. So there's a lot of engagement going on there. For the public, say you haven't talked to us yet, there are opportunities to do that. First and foremost, our email, growth@thunderbay.ca, is always open. And that comes right to me and a few others on the growth team. And we will definitely chat with everybody that reaches out. There is the Get Involved page where we're going to put up all of our work. It's going to be online. You're going to be able to download it, read it, pick it apart, and there will be a vehicle there for you to interact with us, whether that's through an email or the embedded chat function. Also on top of that, the very next day, there's actually a Thunder Bay Talks event on I believe it's at the Moose Hall from 6 to 8 p.m. And so we will be there, plans in hand, ready to talk. We're also planning another town hall. This is going to be early November, and we haven't settled on a location yet. We want to make sure it's very easy to access. And so those dates will be released and very, I think, promoted widely. But again, we will be there with plan in hand, ready to talk and discuss anything to do with the Smart Growth Action Plan. And so we're looking to round up this kind of engagement by November 10th. We need time to incorporate this feedback. We do need to share it with our task force growth. And then, of course, in very early, I think it's November 25th, we are going to the Standing Committee on Growth to show them all the feedback that's come forward, how we've incorporated it into the plan, if it's relevant, and actually improves the plan. And then shortly after that, we bring it to City Council for their review on December 2nd.
So it's all coming up pretty quick, and definitely sounds like there's lots of opportunities for folks to get involved in developing the plan. You mentioned that it's a 10-year plan. How do you intend to report back on the plan? And I guess do you intend there to be opportunities for the public to get involved in the future, 5 years down the road? Or
Yeah, so the plan is definitely, we call the plan dynamic in the document. And by that sense, it's not cast in stone. We know the second it's published, it's printed, there are going to be things that we want to add in. There's other orders of government that change priorities, which then we mirror their priorities in some cases where the benefit is mutual. We want to be nimble enough to adapt and take advantage of those things. So being nimble is important. We will be reporting on the progress and the performance metrics within the plan often. I want to say twice a year. Some will be reported as we get the data in. But also, we're going to be bringing the plan back in a meaningful way through an update every 2 years. Again, to reflect those larger changes. Some things that might be in there today might not be relevant in 2 years. Or the goal or the action has been achieved, and now we're creating a little more headspace to, hey, what else should we be considering for growth? Or if we're seeing really strong growth in an area, we need to refocus some of the efforts in areas that aren't responding to the action plan the way we hope. So being nimble is important. Providing constant contact back to council and community is important. And also really just how we talk about this, making sure we're always being public with how we're talking about this. Our intentions are very clear and in there. And so I think all of those things help to build confidence that back and forth is going to keep the plan relevant.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Thanks so much, Matt. That is it for this week's episode of The Minutes. A big thank you to both the Manager of Community Safety and Wellbeing, Costanzo, and Senior Advisor to Growth, Matt Pearson, for joining us. And as always, thanks to you for listening. If you want more information about City Council, agendas, or minutes, visit thunderbay.ca/council. You can catch The Minutes every week wherever you get your podcasts, on YouTube, or our website at thunderbay.ca/The Minutes. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button so you never miss an update. I'm Stephanie Reid. Thanks again for listening to The Minutes. Have a great week.